Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Um, Hi, I'm Joe, and I'm gonna do another tutorial of the Godot engine, which I did a stream last week, I think, or was it 2 weeks ago? No, it was last week, where I did part of a 3D platformer tutorial. And actually, since I finished that last night off stream, let's look at it. So it did a bunch of tutorials, courses from zenva.com, which I will be letting you hear the audio of it, but I won't show the Zenva content on stream because I don't have permission to do so. And the audio will not be in the VOD or the YouTube video, but it will be on the live stream. Let me get this the right size. Oh, actually, I don't need to do that, do I? Because I exported it already. Let's not do that. Let's do the new project and leave it up and just play with some of the old exported games that I made. Also, if you haven't seen my streams before, I will be dancing every 15 minutes, so I don't get a migraine from sitting still too long, which they creep up on me, and I eventually, after many years of streaming, figured out how to automate stuff. Dom2D, hey Dom2D, how's it going? Good to see you. Want to see what I finished last night from one of these courses? It was this one here. It's like a super shitty uh, platformer game, but I coded it myself. I didn't make the models, and I didn't like come up with anything myself. I just followed the instructions, but I understood what I was doing. And it has 2 levels, and it has a score that increases whenever you pick up a coin. It's terrible controls. The controls that they told me to use were like not very good. Like I'm like, can I just use a controller or the arrow keys or something? But I just did what they said and was like, all right, good enough. There. Ooh, I did it. I finished the game live. So cool. Learning Godot at the moment as well, so I can appreciate. Oh, cool. What are you using to learn Godot? I am currently doing the Zenva courses that I bought from a Humble Bundle. They're okay. It's a place to start. Um, and I did this 2D platformer. Oh, this one used the arrow keys for some reason. I don't know why he chose the arrow keys for this one and WASD for the other one. I don't know. The arrow keys are a little easier for me. Both of them have this bug where when you land, if you're still holding the space bar, which you probably will, you'll jump again. So that's not something that was covered in the course. This has 2 levels. You get to the flag, you get to this thing. They haven't covered making any of the art. They're kind of like, just assume you have art. Hey, I did it. That was the 2D one. Many videos all over the place, depending on what I have in mind at the moment. Yes, that is, I think, a really good way to do it. Agreed. I have that. I'm sure you've seen that 11-hour one on YouTube. That's like the ultimate um, introduction to Godot. Uh, I want to do that one after I do some more of these, I think. Oh, this one had a bunch of little tiny game things in it, but I didn't export them. But they're not quite as interesting. They're just demonstrations of the tech in little ways. Did I export Godot Sandbox? What was that? I don't even know. I don't remember. But I've learned a lot. Yeah, it's my favorite so far. The 11-hour one is pretty thorough and very clear. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of complaints about it, so that's what I'm going to be looking at next. And then probably after that, I might look for some more specific ones. For like there's the 2 games that I have in mind to make. Like I'll probably just want to like look for how do I do what I want to do specifically, just to like the first screens of those games. It goes too much in detail on some things before getting actual gameplay like the ones you're showing. Mm. Yeah, I could see that would be a little disheartening to slow you down that much. Um, I do like having the immediate game feedback. but I also like it's a mix. Like doing all these courses, there's a lot of like repetition, a lot of like the same things again, which is really good for learning those things. And it's also kind of like, can we move on to something else? And there's always a little something new, which is good. It's kind of like when I would go to Zumba class and learn like they would do like the same dances every day, every week, but they would add one every week so that you'd get used to the stuff that you're doing a lot and then a little something new as well. So this should work. This is the course audio, which is not going to be in the VOD, but it's in the live stream if I did it right. Yeah. And I won't show it because I don't have permission to show it. But I will do what they're saying. What are you making, Dom? What Godot projects are you like working on or trying to work on? Yep, I have a basic understanding of the Godot editor. Very basic. I am thinking of doing doing tutorials specifically about Godot shaders because I have a feeling knowing shaders will unlock so much gorgeous, cool looking stuff. And not knowing them will be like make very ugly games. So I want to make very cool looking games very easily. Working on two things: top-down shooter for fun and a card game as a dream game. Well, first version of it. Nice. A card game. Hmm. Well, whatever you're willing to share, I'm curious about your card game dream game. User interfaces, text and health bars, signals, and creating custom resources. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also have been making a lot of notes for my current dream game, my big project. And another game that's like maybe smaller, although maybe could be more successful. But my notes are getting pretty big, but I need to start implementing so I can figure out what I really want to put in for sure. It's easy to write down an idea once you have the idea. Pretty hard to implement them all. Characters. Yes. Oh, this is going to be main. An image, a health bar, take damage, and heal. Is it normal the course audio and your audio are pretty much on the same level? I don't know. You tell me. Do you wish one were louder than the other? Maybe the problem is I'm talking over him so that I don't like waste time. And also so that because some of the stuff he's saying, I'm kind of like, yeah, 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 whatever. I got to hear it, but I don't care that much. And also like just because this will be like when this goes on YouTube, his audio won't even be there. So then all the time when I'm just sitting and listening to him will be like quiet, just boring parts because I don't want to edit the videos down. It's too hard. It's too much work. Yeah, I get it. It's hard for my brain a bit, but it makes sense. It's hard for my brain too, and I appreciate the feedback because I think it's probably hard for you to hear me or him, so there's not much point in talking over him. I should just pause him, and if I want to skip something, I should just skip it. It's good feedback. I appreciate it. They're showing a picture of a pig with a leafy tail for the enemy. Okay, next. Lessons. Is that the introduction? That was course requirements. Okay, yes. Godot 4, yes. Project setup. I did that already. I've done this enough times that I just did this before I even started. Unless he's going up for something different. Okay, okay, okay. I won't skip the whole thing. Here we go. Delaney, hello. I poke my head out of the ether. I wave at neighbors Joe and chat. Hi, Delaney. I'm just a cameo returning back to my bed, but saw online, wanted to say hey and wish good night. Good night, Delaney. I appreciate the hello, and I hope you have sweet dreams. We're making video games. We made a node. Main. Oh. Oh. He always calls it main. Okay. Battle scene. Cool. Yep. Yes, there should be, but where? Where is it? Hey, Dom, thank you for the follow. Oh, it's time to dance. Thank you for the follow, Dom2D. I will be dancing every 15 minutes, and I'll be a little out of breath after, intentionally, so that I don't get a migraine from the act of streaming. Having a problem because I usually can see where to get the file downloads, but this page is acting weird. And I'm trying to respect their license by not showing it. Oh, here we go. Course files, assets. There we are. There we go. Assets. So whenever you hear the music and I get up and dance, I invite you to get out of your chair and move your body if you can and if you want to. I think we put this in here. Probably. Well, maybe not. Let's see, sprites. Yeah, I think we just want the sprites folder. We don't need all those nested folders. Love the energy. I should do that more indeed. Yeah, it's not a bad thing in general. For me, it's a medical necessity, and I decided to turn it into a fun stream thing that I used to be embarrassed about, like my need to do things to be like I have to be in a cold room and I have to move around frequently and like otherwise I'll get a really long migraine. And I would not want to talk about it because it seemed like it's a me problem, it's not your problem. But that just made me sicker. So eventually I was like, I'm gonna make it a conversation topic, and I'm gonna do it with grandiosity and make it fun. So that's how we do. Here is our sprites. Boar, dragon, reptile, snake. Heck yes. And in general, like not just for my migraines, but for anyone who's got a human body, like you don't want to have the blood clots in your legs and all the other, problems of modern sickness from sitting all the time every day. Especially doing computer programming and stuff where you just sit for days at a time. Very dangerous. You don't even notice until later, but it's dangerous. And I forget to get up and dance when I'm not streaming, but when I'm streaming, it's part of my whole routine because I know streaming has its own um like concentration. Like my attention is on so many things at once. I'm being the producer for my own thing as well as performing as well as doing whatever I'm doing. And all of that together and looking at chat, it's all like it's a lot for a human brain and a human body. So I know that that's like high risk if I don't get up and dance. So I make sure that I dance during any streams, including when I'm guesting on friends' channels. Hey, Red Pyre, how are you? We're just getting started on another dinky little game to learn how to make dinky games in Godot. Red Pyre is also a game developer, and so is Dom2D. Um, we were just talking about Dom is going to make a card game and a top-down shooter. I'm going to make a co-op escape room game set in space um, with no networking uh, in the same basis, same type of game as TikTok: A Tale for Two or The Past Within from Rusty Lake, but variable player count, 1 through 8 players, and recommending multiplayer, but being playable single player, and um, replayable. If you memorize all of the puzzles, it doesn't matter because the next time you play, they will be different. I might be taking on yet another Star Trek project in Godot soon when I get caught up on stuff. Oh yeah, Red Pyre did a really cool model. They posted in Blue Sky a picture of the Enterprise D hallway, Picard's original ship. Well, not Picard's original ship, the original Enterprise that Picard was captain of. The hallway from there in like low poly, but with all the colors and textures all really nice. Wrote up rules for Domjot last night. Oh wow. Oh funny. Yeah. Domjot doesn't have rules. Replayable escape room. Neat. I'm glad to hear that. That's the first time I've told anyone what I was doing that they had any any reaction at all. Um, Human play Domjot. That's right. That was what Domjot was. It was that monster guy with the tusks who stabbed him through the heart. And he just wanted to play Domjot. It looked like billiards, but probably with more lights or something. I don't know. That's cool. Writing up rules for Domjot. I like it. That's good. Oops. I've lost audio. Why don't I hear him? Do you hear him? Let's see. Nope. Oh, because I turned off his volume. Okay, he wants to do battle scene. Oh, scene. Save. He does this thing where he capitalizes his file names. Don't think that's standard code style of Godot. I think you're supposed to have lowercase snake case for file names. So I'm going to leave it because it automatically generated this intentionally as lowercase snake case. And this guy likes to capitalize it, but I'm not going to do what he's done. I actually made it more like pinball. Oh. But like competitive pinball, right? I struggle on alternating between snake case and camel case. Well, the second one is Pascal case because it starts with capital letters. This is Pascal case. And then the camel case is when the first word doesn't have a capital, so that the hump of the camel is in the middle of the two words, just the second word. And all of the subsequent words if it's more than two words. But the first one is if the first letter is capitalized as well, then it's Pascal case because that was invented when Pascal was popular. Yeah. See what I mean? Yeah. I also don't like switching back and forth as much. But I've become more laid back about it. And I'm just like, if this is the standard, like, just tell me the standard and let me do it and get on with it and not be all like, oh no, I like it this way. Like, no, just tell me the standard. Let me do it. I know everyone's got a different standard, but Godot has their standard. I'm just going to use it as much as I possibly can. And I'm also going to like not freak out if I can't remember what it is. If I use the wrong one, move on. Because I used to be a real stickler for that stuff. And I'm like, that was a mistake. It annoyed people, and I understand why. And I'm a different person now, a little bit. I'm like, just want to make games. Rendering. Under rendering. Environment. Select current scene. Yay. Hold on. So he doesn't do this, but I noticed that in Godot, um, you don't have to have a boot splash image. And as much as I like Godot, and I do want to say this game was made in Godot and all that stuff, but when I'm like iterating and making like the window pop up, I don't want to look at the logo every time. I just want to like run the game, my run my code. I don't need to see this boot splash logo. Okay, that's better. I don't know, dude. That's pretty deep. I like some saturated colors, but that's a lot to look at. Yep, you can add something back later. Exactly. And I would prefer like a custom one that's like a weird Godot logo, not just the standard thing. Looks a little cheap. I'm just gonna jump ahead to what he's probably gonna do. Aha! We're not. Okay. Shade of purple reminds me how wonky laptop screens used to be if you angled them wrong. Yeah, it's a lot, right? I'm like, maybe it could be a little less. Okay, let's go. Um, how do you just make it more dull? I don't want it darker or lighter. I don't want to RGB it. I want to desaturate it. And maybe, what is HSV? Hue, saturation, and value. I want to devalue and desaturate. Just calm it down a little bit. Get it closer to gray. Okay. I can deal with that. I love saturated colors. I just don't need the whole screen to be one big one. I got enough light coming from this white web page. Dragon. Oh, this is character. He made a node 2D, by the way. Oh, did he? Good catch. You're not even looking what he's doing. You heard better than I did. He just said make a node, and I was like, okay. Wait, I don't need to do that. I can change the node type. This is an interesting exercise. Can I figure out how to change the node type without recreating it? It is a node. Can I change it into different type? Let's see. Character. Right click, change type. Hey, look at you. Very nice. Thank you. It's like last time I was streaming and I was trying to show my work from the other lessons, and I was like, I hadn't exported them, and I was like, okay, well, I should export them, but also here, let's run them. And some of them were broken. I was like, okay, wait, let's fix it. This is good. This will make me understand something. Do you want spoilers like this or not? Oh, for sure. I'm not. This is not. This is not an experience where I'm like looking to be surprised. I'm not looking for storytelling. I'm just trying to learn some stuff and move on with life. Backseating, for sure. Please backseat. In fact, I used to have backseating encouraged even for playing games on stream. And I took it off when I was doing something else, but I kind of want to put it back. How do I put more tags on my stream? Backseating, what do they call it? Backseating allowed. There, it's now a tag on the stream. Backseating allowed. Feel free. Because the whole thing is me getting backseated by this dude. Node 2D. That's character. Character. Node 2D. We got our dragon mesh. I mean, sprite, which I kind of want to rename it Sprite, but I'm going to wait and see if he does. And he's going to make it. Yep. Good. That's what I thought. Sprite. Called it. Yep. Dance time. Progress bar, progress bar. Progress bar. Whoa. Hold on. How did he make it wide? I clicked the wrong thing. Okay. I think we're just going to zoom in here. Yeah. I'll just do it how he did it. I don't care. I'm not designing right now. Health bar. Mm-hmm. Yay. Yes. Theme overrides. Styles. Okay, fill. Style box flat. Mm, there. A what? Oh, a label. Okay. What? Oh, it won't go any smaller. Oh, color. Sure. Okay. Lovely. Did I center it well? Hmm. Health bar. Where's transform? So sprite has no 2D transform. Health bar does not. Interesting. Health bar, but it has position. Why doesn't it have transform? Let's see. It's progress bar, fill mode. Hey, time roller. How's it going, friends? I'm making video games. I'm learning how to make video games. Oh, layout. Oh, here's transform. It's under layout. Okay, size, position, negative. Oh, well, it is in relationship to the character. It does need to be like that. But X is negative 82 and Y is 82. That's a coincidence. That's just because this is a square here. So, all right, I'll leave it. I'll leave it. Hey, Mary Barberi, good evening. This is cool. Thanks, Mary. Good to see you. We're gonna make a little fighting game. Camera 2D. If you think this is cool, wait till I make my own game. Zoom 1.5. And then we play the game. Very cool. Hey, look, we're playing a game. What does it do? Nothing. Not yet. Character, scene. Done. Save. Yep. Right. Dom said, Godot has renewed my ambition so much. I'm so inspired to create silly little games again. Yeah, me too. And I wasn't really actively doing anything until Unity fucked everything up for themselves. And then I was just like, wanted to learn Godot out of spite. And then I got really excited to actually start making my games because I've been talking about it and I was learning Unity like a year or two ago. And then I was like, one day I'm going to have time and I'm going to sit down and learn a lot of Unity. didn't do it. And now I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna look at YouTube all the time and like humble bundle stuff and like get classes and things and learn Godot and just start making some of the games I want to make and go from there. Mary said, "What kind of game are you wanting to make?" Okay, I'm glad you asked. I have I have a few ideas. One of them is sort of a clone of Bubble Trouble from Ambrosia Software, which was only on the Mac and doesn't run anymore, I think. Hard to get anyway. But reskinned instead of being about fish and bubbles to make it about beavers and wood, and other shallow water creatures like frogs and crocodiles, and basically I had to pick some other animals to be the enemies. And that's I'm gonna learn a lot doing it, and it'll be a fun little game because it was a fun game. And Bubble Trouble itself was a clone of an older game called Pengu, where a penguin pushes things on ice so they slide and hit enemies. And it's very similar to basically it's a Pengu like. That's one, but it's not the main one. That's the little one. The bigger one that I want to make is a I'll catch up with chat in a second. The bigger one I want to make is an escape room puzzle game for multiple players with variable player count, one player or two or three, all the way up to 8 players, with separate, with remote play only. Like no, it's not co-op, like you're in the same computer, and it's not networked. So it's like TikTok A Tale for Two or The Past Within, where the connection between the players is only narrative. It's not actually not technically true. There's an illusion of connection. But I don't have to then support servers and do networking stuff. And the game can continue to work successfully even after other infrastructure is no longer available. And people don't have to have as much connection, like all the trouble you go through trying to connect with people, trying to play games sometimes. All that goes away. And then the other thing, so that's partly been done, except for I want to do it. The first one I want to make is in space, where you're all in separate escape pods from a destroyed ship, and you have to fix everything and get to safety, and send each other stuff through teleporters and stuff. And variable player count 1 through 8 players, and replayable because when you start the game, everyone shares the same random seed that generates all of the details of the puzzles. So you can play it again and you won't have memorized the puzzles because they'll be different puzzles. The gist will be the same, but the specific what you have to do in the puzzles will be completely different each time you play, with like at least 3 million combinations. And that I've been writing notes for a while. Like that's my other activity besides learning Godot, is writing notes and making bigger and bigger project documents about that game. And then probably either sequels to that or other genres. It's like same design constraints, but like haunted house version and some other like setting kind of thing. So those are my two big ideas. Easy to have big ideas, hard to finish games. So I'm obviously going to have to rein a lot of that in as I implement and just start making what I can make. But those are my current like driving forces making me want to continue. Dom said, I started learning Unity 3 weeks before the mess. It was much harder than this. Unity's slow to start up. And I didn't realize how much that was like keeping me away from it, but it really was. Like half the time I was just updating Unity and then running out of time and not doing anything. And then if I did want to do something, like even just starting Unity just took so long that I wasn't doing much when I tried. Red Pyre said, I was eyeballing getting back into Unity just for fun, experimental projects. The week I finally got around to starting was when Unity did their bed shitting. Yeah. Similar situations then. Love the little game ideas. Red Pyre said, my thing is I had 10 plus years Unity experience, but their other bad decisions made me step back, so I had to sink all that because I didn't like the company. Yeah, that makes sense. I agree. Mary said, I love that. I'm really excited to see you put it together. Escape pods in space. Heck yes. And also my nightmare. Yeah. So, oh, the other design constraints I forgot to mention. I might make it 3D. I might make it 2D. I might be a combination, some hybrid type of thing. But most escape room games on Steam, on the internet, they tend to be free spinning camera games. And I play them with Ambi on Mondays all the time, and they make both of us sick. Give me a migraine. Um, so we don't play them all the time. We've played a lot, but we always have to like have a timer, not do too much, and then play a 2D game after as a chaser. Um, and like we'll like stop for after an hour and eat a bunch of crackers, and then like play Baba Is You for a while. Um, and it's so unnecessary because there's games like The Room where it's very detailed 3D, but you spin objects sometimes, but you don't spin your look yourself, like your camera around the room, especially like up and down really fast, moving the mouse around at these like dizzying speeds. It's terrible because your brain doesn't feel the same thing that your eyes are receiving information about to an extreme that it gives a lot of people motion sickness. And Escape Simulator suffers from this terribly. And Escape Simulator has a feature in it called like motion sickness reduction, which does nothing. All it just is it makes puts black bars on the side. And when I've complained to them, they just said, "Did you try that feature?" I'm like, "Yeah, it puts black bars on the side. It makes me just as motion sick. I don't know what the black bars are for." The camera is exactly the same, so that doesn't do anything. Um, and I asked if they would make a third person version because third person games don't make me as sick, and they said no. So I'm not doing a third person version because I think that The Room does it better. The Room series has a fixed camera on a scene, and you do stuff, manipulate objects in the scene, and then you switch to a different scene. And maybe there's a transition, but there's no free motion. So it doesn't make me sick as much. And I invite you to join me in dancing when you hear the music. I do it so I don't get a migraine. And it's good for you. Fixed camera also guarantees players see what you want them to see. Yes, exactly. So I'm going to do fixed camera transitions to specific spots. And I actually started with the escape pods because like I'm known for a bunch of Star Trek stuff I've made on Twitter and stuff. But I also, and I had a long list of game ideas. I was like, gotta pick one. Can't just keep making ideas. Pick one and start implementing. And I picked the escape room, the escape pods, partly because the pun is cute, but I like the confined escape rooms. Um, I like my video games to be wide and open because, like, I'm a COVID safe person who never leaves the house, and playing Horizon Zero Dawn makes it feel like I'm going to the park. It's lovely. But it does make me a little sick, a little motion sick. And if it's first person, it's even worse. Um, and with escape rooms, so Escape Simulator has this community where everybody makes their own rooms, which is great in theory, but they tend to make them really big. Um, so there's a lot of like running and turning and looking around big spaces. And those make me much sicker. I just don't play the community ones very much unless they're very, very confined. Because then you're just looking at a wall of puzzles. You solve them, you turn another wall, solve puzzles. There's not as much spinning around. So it doesn't make me as sick. So I was kind of starting from that point of like wanting it confined. And then I realized I don't have to have the camera like free turning. So I don't have to make it as confined. And the Past Within, or all the Rusty Lake games, they have like they're 2D, but they have like a view of a scene and then like an arrow to go turn around and look at something else, and it just goes to another scene. That's pretty much what I want to do. It might be 3D rendered, but not really. I know my first person character scripting Godot has dampening on the mouse looking for that reason. Yeah, exactly, Red Pyre. Most indie games don't really think about that. Most AAA games have better like movement controls, better turning, so they can make you sick, but not as sick as indie games. Indie games are the worst for motion sickness because they're usually by default the worst possible thing, which is complete control of the camera just by moving the mouse around the screen in any direction, which is like you then have to do it. You have to look everywhere to solve the puzzles, but you get super sick after an hour or less. I'm going to try and make my Star Trek interior stuff available, by the way. Just saying. Right on, Redfire. I understand what you're saying. Dom said I like the original Myst in open space with static locations. Yes, that's true. Um, so yeah, I don't have to stick with a confined space because I'm going to do static locations. Um, Although I could do like animated transitions like the room does, um, which are not as bad when you're not controlling them. When it's just like a camera, like a director has directed the camera to move at a certain speed, with a certain acceleration and slowness to the next thing, that's not as disturbing as moving the camera swishing around with your mouse. Um, so I may end up doing that for clarity, or I may not, or just do like a whooshing transition effect or something. Um, so that's how I came up with the escape pods. But the more I design them, the more I'm like, well, they can't be tiny. They have to be like shuttles, really, which could be have multiple rooms, possibly like maybe pretty big shuttles. But in the story that I have, the shuttles were generated by the computer during the emergency that destroyed the ship. Um, One was created for each cryo sleeping crew member. And because the computer was malfunctioning and damaged, some of the information that this ship needs is in that ship, and vice versa. Um, and So both physicality and data in the computers of the ships are all affected by this problem. It's the excuse any escape room needs for the nonsense puzzles that would never happen in the real world but are fun. All right, so let's make the next thing. Script. Let's go. Where are my buttons? I don't understand why this interface is so different now. There's supposed to be little lesson buttons. I switched to I switched to the Edge browser. I've never used it before. Should be the same. It's just a web page. But I switched to Edge because I see. It's because my window is so narrow. It's changing how it displays the controls. It's not giving me all the controls. Okay, that's fine. Because I don't have two monitors. I have my instruction window is just this narrow thing on the side. That's the trouble. And then they're using Edge is using so much space. For their interface. I had to use Edge because Firefox and Chrome were not sending audio to OBS. I tried and I tried and I tried, and eventually I was like, let's try Edge, and it worked. And I was like, that's it. That's enough. I don't need to know anymore. I can't find the solution. I'll just use this weird browser that Microsoft forces on me. Let's do it. Let's make a script. Okay. So here's their character is the dragon person and their script. Yes. This is new and important. Hmm. Cool. I have heard from a YouTuber that like inheritance isn't that great. You shouldn't be using inheritance all the time in your code. You should use composition instead and make things available as components to add to other things instead of making them descend from other things. Which I agree, that's generally a better way to organize your software. But I haven't done this before. I haven't made something with an explicit class name, and I haven't used inheritance that of inheriting a class that I made um, in Godot in GD script. So this is useful information for me. Is player bool boolean yes true or false? There we go. Is player. So one thing that's weird about this course is like it's short stuff that they show you how to do it and you did it and you're like, yeah, I did it. Um, they talk about he talks about some of the stuff of like why things work. Some things he just sort of says it and you're like, you just have to take his word for it, which is not great. And then I have to like try to figure out, do I even want to figure out why that's the way it is, or just move on. Um, and it's very obvious that he's got the whole thing printed out next to him and he's just typing it up and talking about it because he's not going through the software development thinking process. He's just explaining each thing as he's typing it. What a weird way to teach, preparing a bunch of elements in advance. Yeah, exactly. This isn't normally what he would do. In the other ones, he builds one thing and then implements it and then um, adds another thing later. This is a little backward. This is like he's kind of lost patience or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's obviously making like way too much stuff that we don't know what it's for yet. Autocomplete doesn't always work in Godot. Sometimes it does. Um, Red Pear says, I'm fine with it. I usually design my classes, as in programming classes, in advance to cut down on unused member variable warnings. Um, yeah, I mean, getting rid of warnings is good. Why do we have a warning already? Line 20, unused parameters. Um, yeah, that's what this is. Exactly what you're talking about. Because we have a whole bunch of unused variables. Yeah, I'm not sure why he's doing that. It might be because we're going to use all of them in the first function. Could be. I don't know. But I would have started. Yeah, I mean, I would have started with like probably just start the function, starts talking about what's the first thing I want it to do. Let's write a function for that, and like let's figure out what variables we need to do that. he's kind of just like already gone through that, but he's showing it in a different order. He's showing it in the order that he's reading it from the paper, which uh, this lesson's a little lazier than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones made more sense at the beginning. Always so fun when you get back into a script after 3 months and can't remember if it's okay to delete player health boost because it's not used. Yeah. I mean, I do understand what all this is for. It's not that hard to figure out what he's getting at. Yes, please. Funk me. I forget what the underscore at the beginning of the function name means. It's important. Um, it obviously doesn't mean that it's already defined in a parent class. It means something else. I forgot. Something about that it's not going to be available to children or something. I don't know. Mary says, Donnie, you're out of your element, is how I feel. No coding experience. Cool to watch, though. Yeah, I mean, I had the I had the sense when I switched to the script screen that I was like, well, for anyone in chat who doesn't know anything about programming, this part's going to look a little more like, but this is half of it. Half of it is this funny text, funny code text. Health bar. Whoa. What'd he say? I don't know. Value is current HP. Let me guess. Update. Nope. Makes sense. Hey Dom, do you remember what the underscore means at the beginning of a function name in Godot? Godot underscore functions. What does it mean? Godot underscore functions are functions that start with an underscore in Godot scripting. They're used for two purposes. To indicate that the function is pseudo-private, meaning that it should not be called from another node or script. And to indicate that the function is virtual, meaning that it does nothing by default and can be overridden by the user. Godot provides some virtual functions such as underscore ready or underscore process, but most of its functions do not have an underscore. Didn't know that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that either, apparently. I had heard something about it and I didn't process it completely. Now I think I understand. Not meant to be called by other classes. Okay, I can get used to that. Or other nodes, I guess. Not meant to be called by other nodes. It's internal. I don't think it's enforced. I think it's a convention. But I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I always forget to put it in front of ready. Well, isn't ready there already when you make a script on a node? Isn't that, I mean, this is the default starting text. You shouldn't you shouldn't have to type ready. You should have to delete it, if anything, unless you don't use this editor. I'd try to start without anything. Fair. Yeah, I mean, by default, the this editor, the Godot code editor, which is not great, it's okay. It doesn't do a lot of things, but it puts a lot of code in when you make a node and you make a script for it. Um, Sometimes for some node types, it puts like a huge amount of code, and I don't know if that's a good thing. I like it. You like what? Starting without anything, or you like that this like puts things in for you? Oh, you like the code editor? Yeah, it's okay. I'm accepting it because I've chosen GDScript instead of C sharp because it's easier. The editor, yeah, it's easier to get help for GDScript than C sharp, and like there's better editors and better refactoring for C sharp, but then it's not as tied to the engine and you can't learn as much. Like most tutorials are going to be in GDScript. Brad Paris said, I don't care that there's not as much documentation for C sharp. I do, because I am a Java guy and I would just get confused. Um, and also because I haven't learned other engines. So, like, I'm not like an old Unity developer. So I need to like understand what is going on. Plus, I'm trying to be more flexible in my programming languages. And like, this is basically me learning pseudo Python, which is what GDScript is. Oh, I don't care. Don't care for. You've lost me, Red Pyre. I think you're negating your previous statement, but I'm not quite sure. You you don't care for the fact that there's not as much documentation for C sharp. What is he doing? Current HP. Yes, I understand. Current HP. Current HP space slash space max HP. Take damage. I don't care for that. There's not as much C sharp Godot documentation. I wish they would fill that out just a little more and be clearer on certain differences. Yeah, that was how I picked GDScript. I've been watching a lot of YouTube. Basically, all like most of my TV now is just game development YouTube videos. Like I found out about the devlog thing that there's like hundreds, thousands of people making devlogs on YouTube, and it's like, oh, this is very easy to like consume this content, and I feel like I'm learning something, and I'm not, but occasionally I am. Occasionally I'll find out something I didn't know that was cool, or just give me a good idea or something. Sorry, I've forgotten word changed the meaning of my message. Yes, it did. I was like, don't care for, Um, because yeah, that's the thing. There's not as much documentation for the C sharp implementations of things, and people say like, well, it's not that hard. It's like, no, it's not that hard, but it's harder than just learning GDScript that everyone seems to be using. Like it's the same with Java. Like I learned Java, did it for years, then I learned Groovy, liked it more, switched mostly to Groovy, got a job doing Groovy full time at Netflix, um, and did it for years. And like pushed back when someone was like, "Does this have to be Groovy? Couldn't we just get it in Java?" Because he was trying to hire people, and it's hard to find people who know anything about Groovy. And um, and my team was like, "No, it has to be Groovy." And then after I left and I started making my own stuff for fun, I switched back to Java, because I was like, there's just so much more tool support for Java, and the benefits that I had kind of absorbed about what's better about Groovy, they're true mostly, but it was just like if I could get used to Java again, I would have so much more support and tool support and like um, just so many problems go away. You have different problems, but it's like generally kind of easier. And um, and as partly like it's not that I like the language more, it's that I like the fact that there's a bigger, better community for it. So I feel the same way about GDScript. If I'm gonna make Godot, I'm gonna do what the community's doing because then they can help me. Mostly I just want to use C sharp because I not only know that from Unity, but my engineless programming is sometimes done in C languages. Yeah, I wanted to do C sharp because it copied most of itself from Java and it's almost the same as Java. So I feel like I already know most of it. And the differences are not that hard to learn. Um, but the more I saw that like Godot is the easiest path forward with the biggest community and the most support, um, it's kind of a no-brainer for me to just start with Godot. I could do libgdx if I want to do Java. I found out about that. That sounds fun. I could do there's something called Flax that looks pretty good that no one's talking about except this one YouTuber. That does look interesting. Um, but as far as like getting started making some games, getting them out the door, being like, here's my itch page, here's some games I made. Um, I'm like learning to do the things that have to be in video games. I think Godot is like a good place to start and just like pick it and go. And then if I want to do something else later, I can. And it's the same with the programming language. Like within Godot, if I'm gonna do scripting, I'm gonna do the default. Defaults are important. Take damage. I assume we're putting damage in here. Damage. He never types his parameters, and I'm like, type your parameters, dude. Um, Here it is. Update underscore update health bar because it's internal underscore. I guess Java does that occasionally. I mean, it's a convention. It's not a rule, but like you do see some like when you read the source code, sometimes you do see these underscore things. And they tend to be private in a language that has private stuff, which this doesn't. But it's basically like intended to be private. It's just like self-documenting privacy of a function. It's already 6. I started the stream really late. I wanted to start at 4, but I had to feed the cats and get some stuff working and ready. So I was gonna raid Crystal and Board Game Blitz for community game night at 6:30 if she's doing it. I don't know. But we'll see how far I get. I want to make some progress on this. It's important. What? Okay. I wasn't really thinking. I was just typing. So if current hit points is less than or equal to 0, good for him putting less than or equal, not equal. There was another one where he did equal 0, and I was like, it's not a very good pattern. What if you something makes it go negative by accident? But here it's because the damage could exceed your current hit points, so it will be negative most of the time. Q free destroys the object, which is this character. Okay. Oh, he's talking about what to do if it's depending on what character it is. Yeah, right. You want different events if it's the player versus not the player. I see. Bunk. Heal. Amount. See. Oops. Sometimes autocomplete doesn't work. What's happening? Error at 2918. Expecting closing paren after function parameters. Oh. colon. Okay. That is why autocomplete wasn't working this time. Sometimes it doesn't work for no reason. Other times it's because you have a typo. What? Oh, plus equals amount. And then if cur HP, yeah, is greater than max, then cur equals max. Update health bar. So take damage and heal, updates health bar. Yes, makes sense. Got it. Makes sense. Makes sense. He's doing things. He's not doing things in the order that you would do them when you're coming up with the ideas of the code. But everything he's doing makes sense. Okay, we have a quiz. In the heal function, what are we doing if the player's new health is greater than their max health? In the heal function, then we are setting cur hit points to max hit points. Yes. Dom said turn manager is what I'm most interested in here for sure. Oh, well, let's do that. What function do we use to combine strings together for our health text? I'm also curious about like structuring code where there's no like obvious game node thing. There's no visual thing that's like on the screen that like should own the script. Because I have a lot of like architectural ideas for my game that have nothing visual about them. They're just conceptual. So I need to have a lot of classes and things, and I need places to put them. What function do we use to combine strings together for our health text? str. For our health bar, which property are we modifying to change its value? Value. Not amount, not percentage. Continue. It didn't tell me if I got them right, but I did. Okay. This is new. New script. Turn manager. See, he writes them. He writes them in Pascal case because he writes all of his files in Pascal case. Even though the editor by default offers lowercase snake case, which is where you have this, the underscore between the words and everything lowercase. That's snake case. Snake case is all lowercase with underscores between the words, as opposed to camel case or Pascal case, where you don't have underscores, you use capitalization to separate words. He's making it all caps. I'm noticing that this over here, character.gd, is lowercase. I'm pretty sure that I read that the Godot, I'm going to look it up. See, I do care about this stuff. Godot, what's this called? Like the standards for how you write code in Godot. Code style. Godot's code style should follow Clang 13. Indentation alignment, one space around, blah, 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 blah. Variable naming, Godot code style, file name, convention. Snake case. Snake case for file names. For named classes, the Pascal case class name should be converted to snake case. Exactly. So what he's doing in this lesson in his style, it's not standard Godot. So I'm going to do what they do. I'm going to do snake case for the file name for all the file names that I'm creating. He created the ones that have capital letters here, whatever. Those are just images. Not going to worry about it. It's fine. Doesn't matter anyway. But okay, so this has a file name, but it doesn't have a class name. Not yet. Okay, so we have a script. Which node are we going to attach it to? Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And here it is. Okay. Well, that's one. That's what you do if you have one script that's about the overall game or scene. You put it on the main node of that scene. Fair enough. If you have more than one, you have some architectural decisions to make. Dom2D said, I think turn manager script has no class names because it won't be used in different objects. Yeah. Right. It won't, yeah, and it won't be, well, it might be called, yeah, I mean, they might call it for, in reference to the battle scene node object, but yeah, there won't be any second object that uses the same script. I'm just being cognizant of um, what the Godot style conventions are, and where this guy, this teacher, like doesn't follow them for no apparent reason. So there is going to be community game night, but not streamed live. So I will not be raiding, but I might just leave to go play, or I might not. Depends how much fun I'm having doing this. Player character. Enemy character. Oops. That's not export. Cur char. The reason I have this puzzled look on my face is because I'm waiting to find out why current char is a character, but player char is not a character, and enemy char is not a character. Those seem like they should be characters, but apparently they're just nodes. We'll see. Oh, okay. It was literally the next thing he said. So if you put character here, Godot will have trouble with the export because custom classes are not currently something it's really good at. Although it looks fine. Assign. If I make the character, character is a scene. So if I go in here and I make another character, character 2, and move it over, oops. Dude. Whoa. Sorry. Wrong one. Okay. Make another character. Then the battle scene has a player char and an enemy char. And I should be able to say the player character is this, the enemy character is this. Looks like it works, but He's saying that he doesn't trust Godot to handle that. Well, here's what I want to do. I want to leave it like this and be naughty and break the rules of what he said, because I think this makes more sense and it should be this way if it works. And if it's going to break, I want to see it break. And I'll revert it to being node if something doesn't work. I think maybe it's gotten updated. Godot works better now since he wrote this, although this was very recent, so it shouldn't be that much different. And I don't think I updated Godot since 4.2 came out. I'm still on 4.1.1, which is what this lesson was for, was like either 4.1 or 4.0. So I don't know. Maybe they fix this. Maybe there's something it won't do right. But I'm going to try making these characters instead of nodes, because I like specific types. Yes, I rewound too far. Yes. Oh, you can control click in there. That's good. But you can't go back easily. There's no keyboard shortcut for this. Go to previous edited document. Is there? No, that's not it. Oh, maybe this is it. Alt left. Ooh. Alt left. Alt right. Noise. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know. Dom knows. Dom's a coder. Uh, the back and forward buttons, you don't want to touch those. Your hands are on the keyboard. You want to be able to like rapidly go between what you were working on and the other thing you were working on. And if I control click on character to see like, what is in that? Where is that defined? Oh yeah, it's this class right here. It's this file. Then I'm like, oh, I want to go back. I don't want to move my mouse to this teeny little target up here. I just want to do my usual alt left. Duh, back where I was. Which in IntelliJ is control alt left. So I'm doing that instinctively because I did IntelliJ for many, many years. And it's not the same here. I could change it, but I'm not gonna. I want to learn the defaults of Godot and get used to them. I like defaults. I like them a lot. Dumb's a coder. How flattering. I'm still just learning. Well, if you got excited about a keyboard shortcut for going to your previous editor, then you're a coder. No one else in chat was like, ooh. That's not a requirement for being a coder, but it does demonstrate coder-like behavior. Okay. Turn manager is feeling a lot like game. Like it's the game object. But whatever. Because like turn manager, game over. I guess game over belongs in the turn manager. Maybe. I would maybe put it in the game class or something. I don't know. Okay. I get rid of process. Let's get rid of process. Excuse me. Okay. sure this is visible. Character died. See, I think I would have called this, so like in terms of like the verb tense, begin next turn is an imperative verb. It's telling you to begin the next turn. It's not begins next turn or began next turn. It's begin next turn. It's an instruction. And current turn is the same. And then character died is a weird name for a function because it's not an imperative verb. It's a past tense verb. Like, this happened. That seems more like it would be a variable that's like, did the character die? It could be character dies, or it could be like make character die or kill character. But I'll leave it like this because it'll match what he's going to type later, but I don't think I would have named it that. I guess it's the game phase manager more than anything. Right. Game phase manager, or like game state manager, which is what a game class would be in my mind. Boy, I'm glad this tutorial wasn't my first tutorial. This structure is strange. This is like my 5th or 6th one in this series from the same guy, same New Zealand voice guy. Character has died consequences. Yeah, I mean, I have no objection to funny function names, um, as long as I could find them. Character died, character. Of type, character. He doesn't type his parameters, but I do. Ooh, we're implementing already. Good. And we're dancing. Let's dance. Let's watch him code while I dance. I'm sorry, Mr. New Zealand accent. What were you saying, Daniel? If current char equals player char, then current char. Oh, because there's 2 characters. There's not ever going to be a 3rd character. This looks so ugly, and I'm like wondering a simpler way to do it, but I don't know. The other way to do it would be a bunch of ternary operator things, which if you're gonna do more than one, like you don't want to nest your ternary operators. It's not good. It's not readable. This is hard to read too, but it's okay. End current turn. If game over is false, begin next turn. Yeah. I don't love testing for false. It's a little confusing. It's easier to read code where you test for true and then have an else at the end. But if there's nothing to do when game over is true, then this is fine. Next turn delay. Did you see that before? I wasn't listening. Timers. Yes. How do we do that? Ooh. Hmm. And I'm just wondering when we do this, because I haven't seen this before in GDScript, await, create a timer for that amount of time, which is 1 second. And then when timeout occurs, let's go into timeout. Timeout. Here it is. Emitted when the timer reaches 0. It's a function. No, it's a signal. Okay. Timeout is a signal. I see. Yes, thank you. So await the signal. Now, what I'm wondering is if this is getting called, he said essentially it's finishing before the next frame. Um, is that literally true? Will there be no more frames drawn until the timeout has occurred? I don't know. I want to test that, but I don't have anything to test it with yet because there's nothing calling this yet. That await line is confusing. I saw it this week too. Like I get it. It's a sleep. It's what Java would call a sleep. Um, but is it freezing the game? And what parts of the game is it freezing? If it's freezing the thing that draws frames, do all of your background visual effects freeze or not? I don't know. I assume you can still move the window around and resize it, but like, does the window uh, resize work? Does it have like, does it redraw the window? This is where I was get confused. Yeah, I think frames continue, but the logic of this function stops. Okay, I mean that's what I would hope would happen. I was just confused about what he said that this is happening like within the rendering of 1 frame, but that shouldn't be true because I don't know. I mean, it depends where this gets called from. If it gets called from a process function, that's supposed to be finished before the next frame. But I don't know what happens if you like make it take a long time. If like there won't be more frames drawn during that. I should try to find out. I've used it as a lifetime for a bullet and it didn't stop everything else. Or something like that. You used await for the lifetime of a bullet. Okay. Okay. Maybe it's maybe there's more than one thread where this is gonna be called. Maybe we'll figure it out. Like there's so many things to try to figure out that if I don't figure it out, it's like, oh well, I'll learn something else instead and I'll learn this when I need to learn it or never. Um, but when it's in front of me, I want to know. Like I'm learning what a weight is. Great. I want to know more about it. Like he's not going into like the edges of like how does it work? What does it affect? What does it not affect? And I'm curious to understand it better because I don't feel like I understand it. Um, I know I don't understand it. I only understand part of it. I have a lot of questions that are not answered yet that seem important. Because, sorry, I keep interrupting it. there's a part of my game design which is basically re-implementing a game called Space Team, where uh, multiple players have a digital readout of what systems need to be, like what buttons need to be pushed, and other people have buttons to push, but everyone has buttons to push and everyone has things they're reading, and no one has the button for themselves usually. So they're just simultaneously chaotically shouting things at each other so that they can try to get all the things done so that they don't get hit by asteroids. Um, and that is a time-based thing. And I already have like a system in mind for synchronizing clocks between players so that even though they're not connected over a network, they have the same random seed and they have the same clock value, the same internal UTC clock value in the game, um, that it'll be close enough that that system can work and it can be a real-time game that you play with people without internet. Um, but as long as you have a voice connection over internet or a voice connection over something. Space Team is such a classic. Yeah, I love Space Team. I basically want I just want that to be part of my escape room. Like, why not? Like, it's kind of hard to play Space Team remotely. The digital one, it's possible, but it's hard. and and I know that's like huge scope creep for a game I haven't even started yet. But I think ultimately, like, I know that a lot of my ideas for like what goes in my big game need to just be their own little games, and that's fine. I might make them their own little games, but but I do see them as like part of a big, long, like good money, good value for your money, long escape room. And yet I wonder if it's too long, if people will complain that it's too long. They just want to be done. They just want to finish it with their friends and be done, feel satisfied. But then if it's too short, then they'll be like, it's not worth it. It's too short. So I'm like, I don't know. The perfect length. We'll see. Um, but I know that timing might be very important in my game. And I know it'll be very important in my Bubble Trouble Beaver Wood Dam building clone. That's all about timing. So I need to learn this. Oops. If I want, you're not going to show me how to do it? Okay. There's a lot of things that he doesn't do in these lessons. Like when I did the 3D platformer, we finished it. There's still no animation of the character. It just slides around. It doesn't like move its legs. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Moving on. Ready, begin next turn. The game starts. Hmm. I love how he says that. It's always at the end of every video, he's like, I'll see you all then in the next lesson. Okay. We haven't even looked at this in a while. Mm-hmm. Yep. Shift before you let go, and it stays in the same line, same height. Enemy is player. Hold on. Right. Yeah. Opponent. Opponent? Some of this I don't think I was thinking about it very much. This was a while ago. Opponent. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. This is when he was just like spitting out variables, like we'll deal with this later. Okay, so combat actions is an array. Opponent is a node. Okay. Yeah, because you'll attack your opponent. Cool. So for enemy, opponent is player. And for player, nope. For enemy, opponent is player. For player, I'm presuming opponent is enemy. Yes. That's cool. Not gonna change the sprite? Come on, dude. Gotta change the sprite. Sorry, what? Rewind, rewind, rewind. Something, something, something. On character, begin turn. Character of type character. Oh. Wait. I think I made it in the wrong place. Yeah. I think, yes, this is supposed to go in character script. Turn manager. Okay. I have. Mhm. Signal. This is also new syntax for me. Because making signals before, we did it through this interface, which generated a function, which we could then put stuff in the function. But this is making a signal from scratch. Character begin turn. Signal character begin turn. Okay. Character end turn. Mm. Oh, like this. Magic strings, not good, but how it works. The interface signals become unmanageable very quickly when instancing objects and that kind of stuff. Took me a while to understand. I mean, the signals from the Godot editor interface, sidebar stuff. Anyway, um, those become unmanageable very quickly when instancing objects when you have a lot of them. Yeah, okay. Um, hmm. I wish I could easily look at that other code, but Godot doesn't let you open a whole bunch of projects at the same time. I wish they did, because I'd like to look at that code. Because I had things, like a lot of things, where the player character was jumping around, and when they would touch like a coin, that would generate a signal. And then the coin would uh, check to see if the body entered signal was triggered by a body with the group of player. And if so, do the thing where it increase the score of the player and then queue free the coin. And if you hit an enemy, it would do the same thing, but it would make game over happen. Because you have to connect them manually from the sidebar to the objects they're connected to. But if you do that and it's a scene object, and you clone it over and over again, then it works okay. But I think in those cases, those were basically sending signals to themselves. They were like, I noticed that whenever he's done a signal setup from the sidebar, from this node signals list here, um, it was he always does body entered. That's the only one we've done so far. And then he always says to select the same object again. So it's sending a signal to itself that the body was entered by a different body. And the body that did the entering, we then look up it's checked whether it has a label on it that's a group name. And if so, that's the player, then do something else, as opposed to like it collided with some other body that doesn't matter. And because of that group name thing, where you're just checking to see if you matched player and it's in a scene, you can clone that as many times as you want, and it's not difficult to manage. Um, but you must have been doing it in another way where you're getting signals from one thing to another thing, which of course you should. That's a big part of what signals are for, without using group name all the time. But this one doesn't have physics, it doesn't have movement, doesn't have character bodies. This one's more of a little choose your own adventure clicker. Just selecting verbs, basically, I think is the gameplay. We haven't gotten to the gameplay yet, but he's getting there. I'm just not in love with the fact that like at least this highlights like when you do this, it knows enough about its own system to say like, yes, you have successfully caused this to match with this. And if you have it like this also lights up a little bit. And if you can control click into it, so that's good. It knows that that's what it is. What you can't do is reference it as just a function name, which you can in a lot of languages, but not this language. So now that's not valid because it expects a type string here, not type lambda, which would be like passing a function by name. And I thought that Godot was adding lambdas. Lambda. You can now use lambda functions, or more specifically, function literals. Those are inline functions that are assigned directly to an expression instead of being defined in the class. 4.0. How do you do that? And can you do that for emitting signals? Or do you have to pass a string? This is great for functions used only in a small context. No, that's not what I want. That's good to know. You can make a function a variable and then call it later. Lambdas are of type callable. You can pass them as function arguments. Yes. Yes. Lambdas can optionally have a name, which is used when viewing stack traces. Lambdas can capture variables from the scope they are defined in. This is all same as JavaScript. But it doesn't talk about signals. Godot lambda signal. It's not essential, but I'm curious to know what it can do and what it can't do. Using signals. Make a thing, make a button. Connecting signals in the editor. Pressed. Connect the signal to the sprite in the editor. Func on button pressed. Right. Connecting a signal via code. Timer node. Connect method on the timer's timeout signal. And so look at this. Timer timeout connect. Connect is where you're supposed to pass a signal function. So they pass the name of the function on timer timeout. Where did they define that? They didn't, because it was already defined in the timer. Timer timeout connect on timer timeout. The line reads like so. We connect the timer's timeout signal to the node to which the script is attached. When the timer emits timeout, we want to call the function on timer timeout that we need to define. Let's add it to the bottom of our script and use it to toggle our sprite's visibility. By convention, we name these callback methods in GDScript as underscore on node name signal name, and in C# as on node name signal name, Pascal case. Here it'll be on timer timeout. Sure. Is this the function? Yes. GDScript or C#. Oh, that's nice. GDScript on timer timeout. So and so. Complete script. So on timer timeout is a func down here, which we're passing into connect. But here we're doing emit signal, which takes a signal, a string name. It takes a string name. Built-in type for unique strings. Okay. Immutable strings designed for general purpose representation of unique names. Also called string interning. Huh. Comparing them is extremely fast compared to regular strings. That's good to know. That's what Java strings are. Java strings are immutable, and they are automatically interned, which means they, if you make a second one with the same value, it will not be held in memory in a second place. But that's not the way Godot works, so that's good to know. Okay, string it is. I don't know why it has to be a string here. Python does this as well, the string name thing. I'm just wondering why you can't pass the function in here. Oh well. Wait, he did it twice. What? End current turn. He's saying put this at the beginning of end current turn. Emit signal, character begin turn. So begin next turn. Why would you do it twice? End current turn. Oh. Emit signal, character end turn, which we also defined. Okay. So when the end turn happens, you emit the signal, character end turn for the current character. Cool. Character end. Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. If you are curious what I'm listening to, it's paid and it doesn't have a license to share it, but it's pretty cheap on Humble Bundle. I think if it's still there. This one. Everything you need to know about Godot 4 Encore Bundle. So we're doing Godot 4. I did this one, mini projects. I did the 2D and the 3D platformers. And there was a setup one, and then there was this micro turn-based RPG. Oh, you can't see it. There. I did a poll on Blue Sky and Mastodon of which of these should I do today? Micro turn-based RPG with Godot 4 or real-time strategy game with Godot 4? And the winner of both by a small margin was turn-based RPG. It was interesting. Both polls had like the same result. It was like 60%. Mastodon had a lot more votes because I have more followers there and more people interested in software there, and polls work better there. But it was the same percentage. It was still about 60% said turn-based RPG, which doesn't mean they want to watch it. They just want to click on something. And that's what sounds more fun to click on. A lot of the bundle is Godot 3, if I recall correctly. Do you think it matters much? I didn't look at any of the Godot 3 stuff, so I don't know. I just have been doing all the Godot 4 stuff first, because the Godot 3 stuff seems not as obviously useful. Will you be doing more of these streams later this week? I definitely want to be able to do Godot at the same time you stream. I was hoping to. I have a lot going on tomorrow, but I'm hoping to do it on Thursday because I don't think I have anything going on Thursday. So let's say yes. Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, I think is when I'll be streaming again. If you want to join me for some Godot practice, and I'll be continuing this because there's no way I'm finishing this today. I'm talking too much. Let's see. Thursday. What is that? Unless I'm playing Among Us. But even then, that starts at 6. So probably like 4 p.m. on Thursday. And Among Us will be, I don't think it'll be Thursday. I'm not sure when it'll be. It'll be, when is Among Us? We're playing Among Us this week? Hey, when are we playing Among Us? Let's see. I don't know. It does, I don't know. Cafeteria? I don't think he decided. But the place, the times with the most votes, just checking when I'm probably playing Among Us this week, is later in the day. Oh yeah. Probably Saturday. That's when more people are available. Awesome. Okay. Um, it's a day at Red Pyre. Let's do Thursday at 4. Since I hadn't put anything on my schedule, but I was wanting to, and I think I have a little bit less to do this week, so I should be able. After tomorrow, a bunch of stuff happens tomorrow, but then I should be able to stream again on Thursday and do some more of this stuff. If you get the Humble Bundle, you can actually watch what I'm watching and follow along, or you can just work on your project. Yes. All right. Good. Well, I hope you can join me. I will do it. Thank you for giving me a reason to make a schedule. Where are we? We're in the ready function. I am confused. What ready function are we? This is not the right one. This is a different script. What are we supposed to be looking at here? Character. Yeah. And why are these open? Close. Can I close more than one thing? Ugh. Okay, at least I can do Control W. That's pretty fast. This one wants ready. Here we are. Health bar, max value, max HP. That's what I wanted to see. I don't know what we're doing now. Get node. Get node. Wait, what? Oh. This is the syntax that I was looking for earlier. This is where you don't have to use magic string. On character begin turn, pass to here. So character begin turn, well, let's put this in. So here there's no string and there's no syntax error. This is correct. So on the ready, when you create your battle scene, that's what this script is. You start the game. Then you get the node /root/battle scene, which is the main node of this scene. Then within that, you have a character begin turn signal, which is, sorry, this is when the character is created. This is the character script. I'm confusing the top stuff with the side stuff. I click this, I'm seeing a different thing. But if I click this, nothing's happening in the script. Well, actually, no, now it is. I think this is the Godot bug, personally. Like, if I shouldn't be able to click on these and it's not changing these, there might be a reason. But if I click battle scene up here, and then I click character here, I click turn manager here, and then I click character. Okay, it does change the script because it does have a script for that object. But I can switch between scripts here and it doesn't change which of these scenes I'm currently focused on. That's confusing. Because I often think this editor is whatever I have selected up here, and it's not. I don't like that. It's what the character is listening for, I think. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep track of what script I'm in. So this is character, and I'm trying to learn and reiterate it to myself that when you're in the code editor, it's what's in this vertical list of script names, of file names. It's not what's up here, even though there may be a one-to-one correlation between scripts and scenes. And sometimes when you select these scenes at the top, now it's freezing. Now my whole computer's probably freezing. Sometimes when you select the scenes at the top, yeah, it's been confusing at times. Yeah, it has been. Um, and I'm trying to teach myself by saying it out loud repeatedly that the selected scene tab is not necessarily the selected script, whatever, script thing here, file name. But whatever editor you're looking at for your where your code is, it definitely does match what's in the file name list that's selected. It just may or may not match what's in the scene tabs at the top. It's a confusing thing and it's important. So I'm teaching it to myself. So character has a ready function, which says, go find the battle scene. This is kind of spaghetti code. It's a small amount of spaghetti, but it's kind of spaghetti code. So it's saying, go find the battle scene and find character begin turn. The character begin turn. Oh, I can't click into it because this is duck typing. I don't actually have a type for what this returns. I know what it returns, but the editor does not. So I can't go into character begin turn here. That makes sense. It's not smart enough to like calculate it and figure out the type. And there, from there, we call connect. And for connect, we pass in the function, which is on character begin turn from this class. Same script. And we don't use a string. Why do we use a string in the other place? I don't know. Maybe because it wasn't from the same class. Except it is. And it's a signal here versus a function here. I suspect in a later version of Godot, they will fix this so that you don't need magic strings. You shouldn't need a string here. It should be able to take, it's emit signal. It should be able to take a signal object. I doubt there's a really strong reason why it has to be a string, but it does for now. Let's just accept it. Control Shift F11. That's a lot of buttons. And this is also confusing because he called his scene battle scene, and his script for battle scene is called turn manager, but they are linked strongly. So then when he wants to get us, when he wants to call a function in the turn manager script, he calls get node root battle scene. And then a dot means call a function or reference variable in the script attached to that scene. So he's getting the node, which is a scene, and calling the script. The script is turn manager, but he doesn't say turn manager because that's not how it works, unfortunately. Which is partly a naming thing. If you're going to call it battle scene, maybe the script should be called battle scene. Nothing wrong with that. I don't know. Like calling something turn manager is very like software architecture kind of naming. Like it's the manager of this game concept. Yes. But then you have to stick it on a node. And then you have to reference that class or the instance of that class by getting that node. It's a lot of information to have to get something. I don't love it. I understand it. I just don't love it. It's kind of messy. Red Pear said, I personally like keeping scene and script names separate. I understand keeping them separate sometimes. Um, it's just counterintuitive when you're like, all right, so I need to call character died. Where's character died? Well, it's in the turn manager. Okay, here it is. Character died. Turn manager. It's part of turn management. Character died. So I'm in character and I want to call character died. How do I get the turn manager? And then I have to be like, well, the turn manager is a script. It's attached to battle scene. So I got to go find what battle scene and then get no battle scene just to get the script out of it. That's um that's a few more neurons firing than I want to bother with, a little more time than I want to spend just to find out how to find the object to call character died. Instead of, conventional programming would have like a reference to that script, to that class, object, whatever, where like you inject a turn manager into the character so they can find the turn manager instead of this, which is not as obvious. Mostly comes from my first programming class where the teacher used examples like int integer question mark. So which part is the name? Oh, that's so bad. No examples, no good examples. It sucks. My homework after stream is to edit another song and add it to the playlist so I can gradually increase the variety of music. Mostly comes from, oh yeah, yeah. So which part is the name? Yeah, sorry, that's a bad teacher. Integer. It's so easy to just be like, it's a pet store. How many pets are there? 4. Int pet count. Like, come on. Think of something. Think of a domain in the real world. Love the adding songs. Yeah, I have about 7. I have to edit the songs to be 30 seconds and find the good bit. That's the dancey bit. That's recognizable. And then fade in and fade out and like process it and to mix it up so that it matches with the other music and the timing of the animation that I have in my other scene and all that stuff. So it takes a little time to do each one. But once I have it, int foo. Yeah, foo is okay. I don't love foo. Foo and bar, that nonsense. I think it's not that hard to be like, you know, improv. Like either write it down in advance or improv. Like somebody give me a profession. Psychiatrist. Okay, psychiatrist. Int patients count. Okay, how many patients do you have today? Patient count. Like just make it something. So, because when people are looking at int foo, they're like, well, those sure are letters. They're not words, but they're letters. I'll write them down. No idea what foo means or why I'm writing int. It's not very helpful. Sprite. Okay, wait, we're back in the editor. What are we doing? Thank you. I thought he was going to do this a long time ago. Right. Right. See, this is actually a better method of teaching than what he was doing before, where he was like listing everything he's going to need that he knows he's going to need because he's already written everything. And he's like, we'll get to the why you need this later. Just write it down. And you're not learning anything. You're just typing. And now instead here, he's like, well, now we have a problem. What is the solution to this problem? What can we add to fix this problem? Which is much more helpful. Didactic, much more, I don't know, effective teaching. There's a word for that. Not didactic. Visual. Slow down, buddy. Export var flip visual. This seems like a surprising way to do this, but sure. Cool. Oh, okay. That's surprising. But it'll work. It's texture. Nope. Flip H. So sprites have variables, texture, and flip H. The texture is of type texture 2D. Flip H is of type Boolean. Bool. Equals flip underscore visual. And he's finally using $, which I'm pleased to see. He hasn't been talking about $, very much, and he's been using getNode a lot without talking about why it's becoming passe and why you should use $, when you can. And I don't know why I didn't use $, up here. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to teach both. Yeah, $'s very useful. So is %. Yeah. Okay. So we're going here for player. Nope, I'm not sure what he did. Sprite flip H equals flip underscore visual. Yes, right. Okay, so we are doing it from the files. And for player, combat actions as an array. We haven't gotten to that yet. Visual, dragon. Don't flip visual. Enemy, possibly dragon, but he'll tell us what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hmm. Cool. What were you saying, Red Pyre? You said, okay, so I thought you were going to say more, but you didn't. Yep, that worked. This looks weird. It's weird because there's still a dragon sprite facing to the right here. And then it's overwritten here. Red Pyre, I changed my mind. I think I was wrong on what I thought. Okay, never mind. Hey, butts, but I changed my butt. I was wrong on what I thought. Um, I thought you had a question about percent sign or something. Um, okay. This is funny, funky, weird, but it's okay. I get it, but you can't make buttspot respond. It decides randomly when it wakes up. Yeah, which is a weird way to do a course. It's a weird order to do things, but whatever. I'm learning. As long as I'm learning, let's keep going. Quiz time. What do we call the feature in Godot that allows us to emit messages from nodes when certain things happen? They used a lot of words there to avoid the word signal. The answer is events, signals, emitters, or subscriber. Signals. If we wanted to create a new signal, and then they put that in the second question. If we wanted to create a new signal called character underscore revive with a parameter of a character, how would we do that? Signal character underscore revive parentheses character. Sounds right. No, sorry. Yes, that does sound right. Or signal character revive with no parameter with a colon after. No. Signal character revive as character. No. Create signal character revive character. No, we don't say create. Okay. We say signal space character underscore revive open paren character close paren. What does this line of code do? Await get tree create timer 0.5 dot timeout. It pauses the code for 0.5 seconds. Correct. If we want to emit a signal, what function do we call? Emit underscore signal. Finish. Congratulations, you aced the test. Continue. Go. We're about halfway through this course. A resource. Hmm. Oh,
It's called combat action.
I have to switch my AirPod because it just died.
Now, let's double click on that
Might be an
script
echo
over
for a minute.
inside of our script editor right here. And you should see at the top it says extends resource, which is what we want. Okay.
Fixed. But I missed what he was saying for a few seconds. Let's see if his sound is still working. No, it is not. I think that killed. It killed the audio in OBS. Let's fix it. There we go. I move this up? No. Glad I checked. Yeah. What does that mean? It is funny how much GDScript really expects you to switch between snake case and Pascal case. Like for class names, you're supposed to use Pascal case. And for file names, you should use snake case, although he doesn't. But for um, keywords, it's snake case. You have to use snake case. That's in the language. It's baked in. And for variable names, you're supposed to use snake case. Class names, you're not. It's odd. I guess it's because snake case is inherently about lowercase and using underscores to separate. Class names have to look different, so they need caps. They don't need underscores. Whatever. Just something to get used to. Of course. Int 0 heal. Oh, export them. Exort. Export, export. Combat actions right here. Mm-hmm. My brain is resisting the idea that there's scripts and there's resources and they're not the same thing. Well, I understand that a script is not an object, but it is basically a class. It just doesn't necessarily have a class name, but it's it's something that could have a class name, and you could instantiate copies of it, instances of it. And if you're making items in your game in an object-oriented language, the way Java would do it is you would make those objects classes and you would instantiate them as instances of that class objects. And here you're doing that, but you're calling them resources. And I have to get used to it. He's explaining it, and I'm just not familiar enough with game development to know why this is a separate thing, or with Godot game development. We'll see. We'll see what goes in it. You could do more. Maybe the resource holds data to build an object. I don't know. Yeah. What's a separate thing? Resource. Resource is separate from object. Like we're not creating a script now. We've already created a script that inherits from the resource class, but now we made a folder and we're creating resources of type combat action, which is the resource that we just made. It's a resource type. It's basically just a class. We're creating instances of it, but they're calling them resources, and I'm not used to that. So this is a container that holds specific data. Yes. And it's a file. It's a file. We're making these are files because we're making unique combat actions. You don't need to make a lot of instances of each combat action, I think. But I'm like, I don't know why you wouldn't just make an enum and put your combat actions in there with any data they need, because I'm still thinking in Java. This is just different terminology for things. Say you have two items, potion and high potion. They both have names and values that you can set. But they aren't separate files on the hard drive, which is just, or maybe, they could be. They're classes. This is how Godot lets you edit those items easily. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get the hang of it after some examples. I'm just like I'm not intuiting from this example so far. I'm not intuiting the purpose. Why you're not just like making an enum or making a class and making objects of that class or inheriting from that class or something. This is very relevant for card game structure, I think. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably very useful. I just haven't seen what goes in it yet. So I don't know like why it's his recommended approach. Unity had a similar concept called scriptable objects. I found it just by scrolling through. I figured we're going to do that. Okay. Because if you have hundreds of moves, it will get out of hand fast if you try to do it all in scripting. I see. So it's less messy. It's a nicer way to move things in and out. And okay, yeah, I could see that. This is also why when I see people talking about libgdx, which is apparently like the how Slay the Spire was made. It was made in Java with libgdx, and libgdx is library, probably stands for Library for Game Development X, or X is like, I forgot, cross-platform. That's presumed to be what it stands for. So cross-platform game development library. And Repair said, if you decide you no longer want a combat action, delete the file. Right. And because I've been doing Java so long, I look at libgdx and the people making YouTube videos about it. And I'm like, yeah, I could see why that's fun. I could see why instead of doing it the Godot way, you do it your way in Java, the Java way. I mean, you could still do files if you wanted to, but if you were just like coding in Java, like you wouldn't give it a second thought. You'd make an enum with 100 items in it. Why wouldn't you? That's how you do it. Nothing wrong with that. You might alphabetize them or something. Um, but like having a bunch of text files to define all the weapons wouldn't seem like the obvious approach. But I'm wrapping my mind around the Godot approach to doing things. No, I totally get it. One of the hard things about my non-engine projects, like on the Game Boy, is having to hard code every single damn thing. Yeah, I added the word damn. Oh, slash, the word slash, because it's the action, combat action of slash. I'm sorry, what? Oh, the inspector. Oh. Right, it's not a TSCN, which is a text-based scene file. It's a text-based resource file. Let's go look at it. I want to see it. So let's go dev Godot turn-based combat actions slash TRS. I'll make sure I'm not showing anything I shouldn't. Okay. This is what it looks like. Type resource, script class combat action, load steps 2, format 3, UID, whatever. X resource type script, path, res combat action GD, resource. Script equals this, X resource, code thing, display name, is that text we typed before it, damage and heal are 0. So this is the data from class. And now let's look at the text file for character scene. There's more because we put more stuff there. But it's just all the information we put in there. Sub resource. But there's also node name. I see. So all those things in the inspector where you select something specific to put on an inspector property, those are also resources. You're creating resources. They're not separate files, but they're sections of text in the file that act as a resource in Godot's terminology that have a collection of properties and values for those properties. You can make it all in one file. I think the tutorial just isn't at that point yet. I had no idea this was all text. I did read that any file in Godot with the suffix .t scn or .tres or .t anything means that it's a text-based file. So there's resource files that are not text-based in theory. There's scene files that are not text-based in theory. But if it's got the T, that means it's supposed to be text-based and machine readable, but also human readable. Give me ideas for custom and external editors. Hey, that's right. That's right. This is all very accessible information. Dom2D said the first game I made 15 years ago was a quiz game all in one script with 600 questions and answers in the script itself. It was so messy and heavy. Yep. Anything significant you do for the first time will be messy and heavy. And it will be all in one big file. And if it's JavaScript back in 2007, um, it was all one file because that was recommended. It was actually better performance, even though it was messy code. Okay, that was entertaining. Let's go back. New resource, combat action, heal. Interesting. Heal 5 HP. Heal. Whoops. 5. Stomp. Whoops. I'll be right back to see how you done. That's one of his catchphrases. Combat action. Stomp. This is interesting. I'm beginning to see why they did it this way. Damage 8. I just haven't reached this part of a tutorial where they get into data entry of this kind. Like as I'm making the combat actions, I'm like, oh well, this is kind of fun. I think this is kind of like a neat way to organize the stuff. Like I see that to do it this way means you're doing more work in the inspector instead of in code. Uh, and that's kind of Godot's thing. Like they're trying to get you out of the code into the inspector whenever it's like convenient to do so. You still have to code, but anything where it's just like a bunch of properties of objects, they're like, well, put it in the inspector. How can we put it in the inspector? And making nodes for everything doesn't really make sense when it's like not really a thing that's displayed much. It's just a concept in the game that can come up as needed. I don't know. Dom said I was just doing this kind of content creation this week and I was putting this kind of data in children's scripts and it felt wrong. Very glad I'm watching and learning here. So yeah, you get the benefit of hearing some of the Zenva stuff that I got um, and seeing this approach. Yep, I did it. Tell me the next thing. Next lesson. We are on lesson 12 of 20. And I started this at 4 o'clock today, 4 hours ago. Ugh. 4 hours ago. I should probably stop soon. Stomp, 8 damage, 8. I don't know. Time Sure Fly's been doing these. Yeah. And like, in theory, I could do it faster alone. In theory. I'm not sure. I think in practice, if I'm alone, not streaming, I probably won't do 4 hours. Like, I'll just be like, I'll go like help the cats with more stuff, or I'll just take more breaks to go do something else, or I'll just like look at social media and like putter around and play some games and things and um do my turns in board game arena. Just like feel like as long as I do 5 minutes, I'm good. But when I'm streaming something, I could just like change what I'm doing all the time and just like hang out and do whatever I want on my computer. That's valid. But that's not how I'm used to streaming. And why is this? Oh, um, and like I'm doing it with you. Like we're talking about it. So I'm more concentrated. And I have like the regular dance breaks, which interrupt, but also punctuate and keep me like my blood going. And like, then I'm like, okay, back to it. What were we doing? We're doing this. So I end up getting more done. Oh yeah, board game arena. Screw learning, let's go play. See, that's my brain like every 5 minutes. But I'm trying to make a game. My big sacrifice is that I don't play board game arena quite as much. In fact, Crystal and the gang are playing board game arena right now in Discord, and I'm like, I want to see if I can get further in this. Although it is 8, I should probably stop soon. I will stop in 10 minutes because I don't want to push it and like hurt myself. I got people coming tomorrow to inspect my apartment. Um, no, I don't see. What are we talking about? I think I'll probably stop after this lesson. Nope. Nope. You're going too fast. Hold on, buddy. Player. Combat actions. Erase size. Yes. I do see that. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Yeah. What type of variables? I don't know. Dude, that's a pencil. Okay. That's a little weird. It's a little weird that you had to select object and it wasn't the default. Because, like, I guess int isn't an object, but like most of these are objects. It's kind of a safe default, but not if not if you tend to have arrays of primitives. I don't know. Heal. Oh, I did it already, buddy. Where had ya? Stomp. Cool. Mm-hmm. Did he do slash? Yeah. What's happening on the right here? We can't see the sidebar. You can't see the sidebar. Oh no, I'm sorry. Good point. Thank you for pointing that out. That's a mistake because the text is over it. I'm sorry. Let's shrink this. Much more useful. That is a good point. I should not display the chat or I should move it somewhere else. I don't know which is better. Um, good point. Yeah, no, thank you for pointing it out. Um, that's been a problem the whole stream, and I will try to keep that in mind next time. Or I can move the chat, or I cannot show the chat. Um, I'm just thinking about my stream layout. See, I'm thinking about lots of things at the same time. I could put the chat behind me, but it'll still be blocking most of it. I'd have to think about which parts are visible and which are not. Okay. I will mess with this after the stream because I don't love this layout, but I do want to have like I prefer to have captions. I prefer to show the chat, but it's hard when you're trying to show as much programming information on your screen as possible, and that's a challenge. Wasn't too bad for what we've done so far. Yeah, but the inspector's important, and it's on the right. And like I could move the chat down here, um, but then like you wouldn't see the resource file system stuff much. Like what's not important? I don't know. Anyway, um, let's proceed. So he was saying something about. Do we want heal in there? Rewind, rewind. The enemy gets to heal. Ooh, enemies that can heal are tough. Hmm. I could see why you'd want to do that for cards. I can see why. It's a it's a code phobic approach. It's saying like no, it's not good to have to go into code to change game rules, game elements, which is a philosophy. That's Godot's philosophy in this case. Mm-hmm. I agree and disagree. Yeah, exactly. Because it's just what do you like? I mean, really, it's what's error prone for you, and that depends on your experience. But they're kind of like the point of the game engine is partly so that you don't have to do everything in code. Um, and people who make their own games without an engine using Java or something don't mind doing everything in code. And that's what I'm used to. So I'm used to thinking in code. Like all of this I could do in code. It would just be a very different approach. It's good to have modularity, but there's a point, especially for novice coders, where you will drive yourself mad trying to make everything modular. Yeah. And where you're just like, you'll struggle with architecture instead of just like typing, just like code. Like, you know what you want it to do, just type it. Feels more manageable for my brain to have each card be a file, each item. I can see that. Um, it is. It is more manageable. I'm trying to unlearn years of being like, well, sometimes you don't want it in code, you want it in a big JSON file. So you make a big JSON file. Is the syntax easy to get wrong? Yes. But you just have to look carefully at all the commas and the lack of commas and where the commas are and which kind of braces you have. And just don't make a mistake. um, and that's not a very healthy thing to do. Uh, but it is sometimes an answer. And sometimes something like this is an answer as a newbie programmer. Um, yeah, I think it is better. I'm just getting used to it. Like it's just not a paradigm that I'm accustomed to, having all these little text files that then inform this other stuff. Like it's all going to get compiled into one executable. So it doesn't really matter. It's just these are all source files. They're just of different formats. Um, and then you edit them using this interface versus this interface. Um, and I'm just like learning the combination of those two things together. Like when in the Godot Discord, they tell you If you have a problem, like preferably give us a project, a minimum project that demonstrates the problem. Well, if it's a bug, um, but also if it's a problem, like show us your source code that's relevant and any other source code that is relevant to that source code, and also your scene tree. Like, what are your objects? That's part of your source code. If you don't have this stuff, then your source code doesn't really tell a whole full story. And now it turns out there's other stuff over here. It's just as important. Wait, what do you want? Oh, he's where that's the next thing. Okay, well that's the next thing. But I'm hungry. It's 8 o'clock. I've been streaming for 3.5 hours or almost 3 hours. Oh, look, it's a quiz. What is a resource? A node that can take inputs from the player. Nope. Data we can save on the disk as an individual file. Yes. A script which is used to manage a large data set. No. Any node. No. It is data we can save on the disk as an individual file. Question 2. Each character has an array of combat actions. What is an array? A variable that can hold multiple values. Yes. A variable that is of type string? No. A variable that can be loaded at the start of the game? No. A variable that cannot change its initial value? No. It can hold multiple values. When we create a combat action resource, where is it saved to? To the current scene as a child of the selected node, to our project files on our desktop. Project files. Thanks for the stream. I was too tired to do the learning myself today. Hooray! You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for keeping me company. Okay, I got all correct on the quiz. Hooray! I understood things. Decades of programming have helped learn more programming faster. Okay, that's good. Let's go raid. Let's go raid and go eat. Who should we raid? Let's see. We got the full screen. You can see who I'm following. Let's see. Giddy Giraffe is fun. Who else is on? Galaxy. Ooh, Phantom Meeple's doing board games. Kickstarter preview. Merchants of Magic. We will probably go over there. Defoob is playing It's Your Role with a guest question mark. Blembly's doing Call to the Lamb. So many friends streaming. Pleasantly Twisted's doing Dark Souls. And then there's the famous people. I have my script. I have a script to reverse this for popular people at the bottom and people with fewer viewers at the top, because that's more interesting to raid to. Let's go to Meg Kelly only has 25 viewers. I thought she was famous. Maybe she's not as famous today. Defoob is what is he doing? Well, they're probably just talking about stuff. Kickstarter preview. Who is streaming longer? Who's about to end? Is kind of what I'm getting. Liger Zero doing Moonstone Island. Pleasantly Twisted. Let's look around at what people are doing. How long they've been streaming. Defoob's been going for an hour. Phantom Meeple's almost 2 hours. Whoa. Mute. Blembly's been doing 2 hours. Call to the Lamb. Liger just started. Twisted's doing in like third hour. Okay, they're all muted now. What's Liger doing? It's still an ad. Gross. Good luck with your learning. See you on B-Sky. Thank you, Dom. See you on B-Sky, and thanks for joining me today. Let's... They're like shopping Kickstarters. Okay, let's rate Phantom Meeple. That is my decision. It's been made. We're rating Phantom Meeple. Here is a raid command to copy. Anyone can copy these emotes. They are public. And we'll start the raid, copy the message. If you have a moment, please copy this octopus message and paste it into Phantom Meeple's stream when we arrive over there. Thank you all for coming and joining me and helping me. And I'm going to do this on Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. And we will finish this lesson and make this game because we're more than halfway through. So it shouldn't be a trouble. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's go. Here we go. All right. Thanks, Dom. Thanks, Red Pyre. Thanks, everybody who's been in chat. Catch you next time.